Okay, we'll call to order the Broadband Taskforce Committee meeting. The roll call, I don't know if you want to call her up, 'cause I'm not familiar with the names as well, but Jim's here.
We have everyone in attendance that I expect.
Okay,
Yes, there's an agenda item.
yeah, I see that,
So-
yeah, all right. All right, roll call, public comments. Any public comments?
No.
No public comments? Approval of the minutes from last meeting? Y'all had a copy?
I'll move to approve with replacement of X and Y with the people that moved and seconded the minutes motion.
For the reference, that was moved by Jim Anderson and seconded by Bill Yanks.
Do I have a second? Okay, we got a second. All in favor? You got
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Any further discussion? Motion passed. Discussion on work items, membership, is there a required amount of members we have to have?
So as we put this committee together, in the first case, as we were identifying members, we did run that by Corporation Council to find out, how many people do we have to have. So the ordinance identifies the spots that need to be available. And we were informed that as long as we have over half of those positions filled, then we can, then we're good to carry on. And I guess just to kind of clarify that, what it is, Chase Potter resigned from the committee. And he was a representative. The ordinance calls for a representative from a town, essentially town government, from K-12 education, from healthcare, and from the PR&D committee of the county board. So we actually have two representatives from the county board, one being Larry Bjork and the other one being Bob Bauer. Bob is officially the representative of PR&D. So Larry's filling in at-large spot. Chase was the town representative. Bob, to my left over here, is also on a town board. But officially we had Chase in that role. And then the rest of the spots are at-large spots.
So question on that, how do I represent PR&D?
You are just, as we identify people to be on the committee, one of the people is the PR&D representative, and that person is also the chair of the,
You know I'm not on PR&D.
sorry, I said PR&D, CR&T. Yeah, get my
Thanks for the
acronyms.
clarification, there we go.
Yes. CR&T. Yes, too many meetings. So I guess with that, we do have, over half of the positions filled. We've never had a representative from healthcare. We're unable to find one. So I guess what I would say is, and this all falls, the appointments are all appointments made by the county board chair. So we can make a recommendation to have Bob Retz be the town representative. And then that would open up an at-large spot on the task force where we could identify anyone from the public that is interested in moving broadband forward to be a representative.
I have a question, Dan.
Mhm.
I have a question. So the total on the committee could be how many? 9? And what would be a plural be? How many do we have to have officially to conduct a meeting?
So in order to hold a meeting, we have to have a quorum of the appointed members. And the appointed members has to be over half of the people that were identified in the ordinance. And I'm gonna get you that number because
Wow.
um, well, I can do this. So, Jim Anderson, Bob Retz, and Terry Nichols, and Dave Hayden are the 4 at-large spots currently. So.
Thank you.
Yep. So if we move Bob Retz to the town representative, that would open up an at-large one in addition to the healthcare one.
So is that something we can do today? That's not really an action item. Do we have to talk about it next time, or is that?
It isn't an action item, but it's also just kind of membership. That's something that we can just talk to the county board chair and say,
Okay,
we need you to appoint someone. I think from a discussion standpoint, I wanted to just kind of put it out there to invite anybody to, if you know someone that would be a good representative and somebody who's interested in broadband and wants to serve.
but it don't have to be filled.
It wouldn't have to be filled for us to move forward, but it always makes making a quorum.
Moving the town representative to Bobby said?
Yeah.
So is that an action item, or is that something that we
So-
can do right here, and, or do you have to have the chair do that as well?
It is, so the appointments to the committee are just purely a choice of the county board chair. So I guess we don't even need the committee's approval to do that. It's all kind of up to Kelly to make that determination. So,
Would a recommendation from the committee help?
but, and I'll talk to him and
Okay.
I'm sure we'll be.
Do we need to formalize that as an action?
If we wanted to make that as a recommendation through that, we would have to essentially have a different meeting and agenda it as an action item and all of that, but I don't know that it's
I don't think.
necessary.
As long as you're gonna talk to the chair anyway, I guess.
So yeah, if you know somebody, you can share it now or share the information with me at some point and I can reach out to them and see if they're interested and then pass along to the county board chair that, hey, we have somebody that's interested in serving.
So if anybody has any, just let Dan know. Any further discussion on membership? Right, moving on to 5B, BEAD challenge process update.
Sure. Might lean on you a little bit here, Mark. So
You want me to go? You want me to just give an update?
that would be great. Yes.
Yep. So today is the official start date of our rebuttal period. Us at the Wisconsin Broadband office, me and my colleagues looked over 44,000 pieces of challenges. We published everything onto the docket. If you subscribe to it, 5 BCH 2024. Or also before this meeting, I posted on our website all the documents for rebuttals, information on what we reviewed, everything for CAIs. So that should be on there later on today. So the rebuttal period will end July 20th. Dunn County, you guys are eligible to participate in it. And again, to look over all that data, look over those challenges to see if any of those need a rebuttal on if they're correct or not. For challenges that don't receive any rebuttals, we're just going to accept those. And that's where we're at right now with the challenge process. And then for volume 2, that is still not approved yet by NTIA. We're still in curing with that. So, but again, as soon as volume 2 is approved, that starts that 365-day allocation process. Don't have a timeline yet on when that will be approved either. So that's where we're at with the BEAD update. And I can answer any questions if there are any.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch, is Mark what? Leonard? Okay.
Um, I, what did I miss? What would the challenge you mentioned? There's, any county could challenge. What did I miss? What do we, what might we challenge?
Well, if the challenge is over, you'd be rebuttaling the challenges that were submitted. And you'd just be rebutting whether the information provided is accurate or not, on whether someone gets a service type of fiber instead of fixed wireless, whether they get the actual speeds, or whether a location is a community anchor institution or not. That is, whether it's like school, public housing, healthcare center, adult daycare facility. There's a bunch of things listed under that definition, but there's various challenges. Another big one was enforceable funding commitments. Those are the grants that are given out by the Fed and the state. Again, some of those might be rebuttal based on whether someone decides if that was part of a grant or not, and that all comes down to the maps and the evidence that was provided. And with the rebuttal, again, if you're to rebuttal those, you'd have to provide again your evidence and piece about why that's not included or not.
And Jim, so Dunn County did not challenge any locations. We did kind of look over that map and thought all the community anchor institutions were identified, and there was some pieces of data throughout the county that we thought were incorrect. But in reaching out to the providers in those areas, they both submitted challenges for those entities or for those areas, or have worked with the Public Service Commission to get that data cleaned up. So we didn't make any challenges. There were challenges in Dunn County. And yeah, Mark might know better exactly how many are challenges if you've memorized all 40,000 documents, right?
I do not. I do not. So July 20th is that end date, and then it'll take us another 30 days to go through it, and then hopefully after that 30 days, again, everything will be done. Then we'll get the accurate maps, and then you can see what it is for Dunn County.
So yeah, I think we have pretty good data depending on how those challenges for, it was 24/7 in next gen wireless or next gen broadband, Clear Lake telephone were the two that I know submitted some challenges. What I didn't go through all of the data to see if like a Charter or a CenturyLink or something like that submitted challenges in our area, but I'll go over those and see if I can find anything. I'm guessing that's going to be a bit of a needle in a haystack kind of search. So
again, you already have some basic information. So what you can do is go to the spreadsheet, because there's a spreadsheet on there, and you should be able to toggle on there and click like turn off everything, then turn on 24/7 or next gen, and that'll just pop up. So you don't have to go through all of that. So
right. Yep. So, yeah. Take a look.
At the end with the process?
Yep.
No further questions. We'll move on to 5C, Volume 2, endorsement update.
Sure. And Mark can probably lean in this a little bit. We talked about it last time that, this committee was created with the intent that in the ordinance, with the intent that we would have the ability to endorse projects as they move forward. And currently, as the guidance for BEAD Volume 2 had come out, there was some talk that it was going to require full board approval. So I had reached out to Mark and just asked about, what exactly is required to endorse a project, and I believe you're still working on that, and we're not alone in our
that is correct. Definitely not alone. Still working on that. Again, I've brought it up the chain, because again, I go to a lot of the county meetings. You guys aren't the only one. So the way it's written right now, it's at the county board level, but again, they're still talking about it if they're going to change it or not. So if they decide to, or when it's approved, I'll let you know.
Well, Ivan, I have another question. When you say the county board endorsement, or do you mean this board? And then the next question is, once an endorsement is made, obviously that helps when we endorse it for them to get a grant.
That is correct.
I mean, that's the purpose of the endorsement, right?
Yeah.
To help them get a grant.
Yeah.
There's no other purpose, right?
Yes.
So Dan, do
Yeah.
you remember resolution 83
Uh,
as it refers to broadband?
can you remind me? There's a few of them.
Well, it's basically a statement or a resolution. It should be on file
I'm
about
sure it is.
Dunn County and broadband.
Yeah.
If
So-
if
Yeah, I just don't know that specific. I know it exists and I know it relates to broadband. I don't remember which one it is. There's a few resolutions.
yeah, I'll
But
try to
but-
find that.
yes, the county ordinance was written to say, and I think I shared it in the last meeting, that this committee was created with, and it specifically outlines one of the duties of this committee to approve projects in the county and provide letters of support on behalf of the county board. But the volume 2, the BEAD volume 2 says that it requires, I believe it required a resolution in a meeting, in a public meeting that had minutes and public notice and something like that. But the guidance that had come from the Public Service Commission said that it would be the full board would have a full board resolution. So our intent was to avoid that because of the timeline that it would require for us to hear that and then to get it onto the PR&D committee and then to get it to the executive committee and then get it to the full board in order to get approval. And so we wanted to be able to do that just out of this committee. So
Would this resolution 83, wouldn't that had been approved by the county board?
I don't know which one it is, but yes, probably.
So I was just wondering, rather than I don't see why that can't stand, but I'm not a lawyer.
Right, and I think that's what Mark was saying, that they bring it up the chain at the Public Service Commission. So it isn't about whether we can do it because Dunn County allows us. It's whether the Public Service Commission is going to see that as an official endorsement. So if that isn't recognized as an official endorsement, then it hurts that project's ability to get that grant. So we want to make sure that we're doing it in a way that is going to help them through that. So.
Well, I think Dunn County's always been forward and upfront with their broadband, so I just thought, rather, I guess it depends on the PSC is what you're telling me.
Right, and that's where they're just clarifying the guidance there, and so we hope to hear that back. And like you say, the volume 2 hasn't even been approved by NTIA, the federal government. So it's somewhat of a moot point at this point in time, but as soon as that happens, things are going to start happening fast.
Okay.
Well, this discussion's been good for me. I've been around a little while and I don't remember how many times Dunn County has made an endorsement to help anybody with a grant. Have we done this often?
Yeah, so
I just don't remember.
yeah. So in the last few grant rounds, we endorsed 5 projects of which 4 of them were approved in that last one, and then I want to say there's been a total of don't quote me on it, but I think it's like 10 or 11 projects.
Well, thank you for refreshing my memory. Maybe we did it, and I didn't know it went all the way through the county board. Thank you.
So this is a different request. So when I say endorse, we provided letters of support in the past to grants. But this grant program actually calls for, they changed the terminology and they're looking for an endorsement from the county, which is, I think it was a really good thing. We talked about it a little bit last time, but there is specifically 7 points out there that they can get in a grant, and it is purely by us approving it. So that's the update on the endorsements.
Yep, that's the 7 points. I can speak a little bit on the engagement part. In the draft volume 2, engagement is 5 points. The provider will need 2 points to show evidence that they were engaged at public meetings in the communities on their project plans. And then there's another 2 points for those local municipalities to provide letters of support. So that's where those letters of supports can come in at the local township. And then there's 1 point, which totals that 5 for school districts or public libraries and other support organizations to provide, again, support. And that equals 5 points. So again, that's a total of 12 points for engagement and endorsement.
Yeah, okay. To me, I think this is more important than for us just to brush over. I appreciate the update. So townships, what is that, 1 point that townships will meet
2
on this
points.
and endorse something, right? 2 points, right? School districts again, and I'll
1
ask
point.
our school superintendent, do you go to all the other school districts in Dunn County and try to get them, if this is in their school district, to endorse it? That would be 1 point or 2 points for school districts.
1 point.
And how about for public libraries?
That's part of that 1 point as well.
Well, we have libraries in Dunn County, and Bob, you're chairman of that too, I think, of the libraries in Dunn County as chairman. I think this is important, and so I'm saying, has this come up at your public library? Because Fall Creek has a library, and Elk Mound, but that's a branch of Menominee, and Colfax, of course, and Boyceville. Those are the libraries in Dunn County. Important aspect, and maybe they all have access right now to good broadband. I think the last time I met with the libraries, they were all fairly happy. Thank you.
So this letters of support would be, so the way the process would work, so like a provider, so for example, 24/7 Telecom would be putting together a proposal. And as they put together their proposal, they have to go out and engage the libraries, the school districts, the townships, and the county in order to gain these 12 points in order to do that. So it isn't necessarily about covering the library, but it may be covering households that are in proximity to that library, and I think, or more specifically, probably the school district, right? I would assume there's an area over by the golf course, Whitetail Golf Course, that doesn't have good broadband right now. I would assume that Bill would jump out of his chair to go sign a letter of support for a project that is going to cover that area. But that would be kind of on the providers to go out and say, I'm going to go talk to the school district to see if we can get a letter of support for this project.
I would like to tell Jim, I don't know if Jim is aware of this, but the village of Colfax, in their building that they have already, they got somebody working on a $4 million grant that will put in elevators serving all floors, air conditioning, the whole ball of wax, and the basement. And one of their requirements that they're bringing out is broadband and telehealth. So that's a lot of money. And being, say, physically challenged, a lot of the seniors in this community will finally have access to the municipal building. So, I'm kind of excited that we're finally getting a building that is accessible for all the residents here around Colfax. So it's in the messenger, this week's messenger, if you want to read that. And their engineering company jumped on that head first because they got some deadlines. So I didn't know if this committee was aware of that as far as libraries. And I agree with Jim. Libraries are important.
Appreciate that update. I was a little aware of that. I've been in the library in Colfax many times. I think we can never forget these libraries, and I appreciate. Thank you for bringing me up to date on all this.
You're welcome.
Well, I haven't started that.
Oh, yeah, volume 2, we're done with them. All right. 5D is digital navigators.
So I'm gonna share my screen here for this. So this is an additional grant program. This is the deadline for this, I'll tell you, is July 3rd, correct, Mark?
Yep.
So this grant is available, it's out there now, and this is something as we talk about this committee's kind of purpose is around broadband, but the other parts of broadband are about access and well, there's access, which we spend a whole lot of time on, but there's an adoption and affordability component to broadband as well. So this digital navigator grant is a capital projects grant, ultimately ARPA funds through the state. So what this is really built around is providing devices or Wi-Fi to areas that areas or communities or people that don't necessarily have access to those types of devices. So this really kind of hits a little bit of that affordability component. And then the digital navigator piece. So outside of giving people devices or providing devices in some way, shape, or form, you would have to provide, they call it digital navigators. I'm going to call it training or education on how to use those devices over time. So this is a grant program that we're eligible to apply to it as a political subdivision is one of the eligible entities. So this is something we are able to apply for if we wanted to. So my personal thought, I mean, so part of it is providing Wi-Fi to a multi-dwelling unit, an apartment complex, something like that. And then the other component or the other option that you have is to provide devices at a discounted rate or I believe it's discounted or free. But I can verify that. And all of them need
It's
to come.
free.
It is free. Okay. So we'd have to provide them for free. But then in addition to that, you'd have to provide training. So I wanted to just kind of bring this up so that you were aware that it exists. It's something that we can pursue. I can tell you from a county standpoint, like we don't have the capacity to train people. We could probably go about some ways of finding ways to get devices. Obviously there's funding a lot is a part of this, right? Or maybe even that's partnerships with other agencies, other groups that we can work with through this. So I just kind of put it out there as a discussion item to get your thoughts about what
I seem to be the only one that's confused or has a lot of questions. You mentioned, I think Whitetail Golf Course at Colfax, and I wondered how often would somebody use that at a golf course, except they have a lot of other meetings there. That would be the time, right? They would want it.
Whitetail actually has internet. It's like the houses that are
White.
just down the road.
Oh, thank you. That
Yeah.
explains it. Right. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is a 33 million, did I say $33 million up there? And how much can you apply for, I guess? And
You can-
if you can apply for so much, could we use a technical college here in Menominee to do the training?
So you could, again, there's no minimum or maximum to apply. Yes, you can use, you get to pick the digital navigator on who you want or how you want to go about it in your scope. The big thing with the application, again, is just making sure that you hit every spot in the budget for it. Because again, it's supposed to, we're supposed to divvy out this by the end of the year to make the awards. Then it's supposed to go on for 2 years, and then in the budget you're supposed to include it for another 5 years. So a total of seven years for this to include in your budget. And I can tell you right now, as of yesterday, there's only been 11 applications, just over $1 million. So, and it's 33 million. So there's a lot more money out there. So
Yeah.
again, it all depends on what you guys want to do. You can either do the multi-dwelling unit project or the device project, or you can do both, and you can use the same digital navigator for both of them and include it all in one grant application.
I think Bob has a good idea. A lot of the technical college system funding comes from local property taxpayers. And if you're going to talk community resources, you better define that. And if you're into comp plans, it's called intergovernmental cooperation. I come from after years, 2 decades, I come from where I question how many classrooms or even how many labs sit there idle. And I think with contact with the tech college, when the townships and the counties were putting in broadband, the tech college system actually, without inputting, they gained a lot of, let's just say, remote learning capabilities. So if we're gonna, and I don't know if the PSC keeps track of ARPA dollars, but that's federal money. So it's been my experience that in the beginning, the townships, a lot of townships spent a lot of ARPA money for internet access. And I'm not happy with all the silos we have when it comes to the UW system, the tech college system, and what's been happening the last few years. And I'm looking for the county or somebody to take the lead, basically to go to the tech college system and say, hey, what can you do for us? We got a training issue. So, and I think it would benefit everybody. And being a representative of the seniors, a lot of this training is going to end up one-on-one, because those who have been in technology for years, like certain people on this board and myself, we kind of forget that technology is moving at such a fast pace that you're going to have to, probably the highest form of training is one-on-one. So I guess I'm challenging what community resources means. And,
So,
and I don't know if the PSC has any input on that.
Yeah.
That's
So-
that's.
Yep.
I'm done.
so, yep. I just, yeah, I would, so, I mean, that was, like I say, as it relates to this grant, I think there's really kind of two components. We have to figure out how we can get devices. And then we would have to identify a digital navigator and kind of put that together. And I can certainly reach out to CVTC and see what their thoughts are. The other idea that came to my mind is the libraries. Being, because I think Terry is correct that, a lot of that digital navigation is going to be one-on-one. So where can somebody go to get that one-on-one support? But just wanted to get a feel for this group, and if that's something you would like for me to kind of dig into. There's a really, really tight deadline. Although, Mark, I don't know if you can officially say that or not, but I know that the deadline was moved forward. That maybe has to do with there only being 11 applications for $33 million.
No, that wasn't the reason.
Oh,
That wasn't the reason why it was moved. It was some stuff in the instruction. That's why when you click on the instruction guide, it will say updated version.
okay.
So that was the reason, yeah, from Treasury. And then Terry, yes, we do keep track of ARPA dollars. And at the PSC, we do find this as a big issue. Again, part of BEAD was having a digital equity plan. And Wisconsin digital equity plan was approved in March. And we submitted last month our digital equity capacity grant funding. And it's all built into one with BEAD and digital, because again, you can't have one without the other. So it's very important. And again, we've never had a grant like this one before, so this will be the first time again as we keep pushing for again digital equity, digital literacy, and inclusion in our society today. Because you are correct, it is moving fast.
Any further discussion? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Do you know, Dunn County is now aligning with United Way on
St. Croix.
the St. Croix. Eau Claire does a lot of their digital equity through United Way of the Greater Chippewa Valley. Is that an avenue? Do you know if they're doing anything from a digital equity perspective?
I don't, and I will probably reach out to them. I'm not exactly sure when the status of that merger. I think it's very, very close to being done. I don't know if maybe it is done. But I would reach out to it's going to be renamed United Way that covers Dunn County, and get that information. Yeah.
Because I think United Way, I think, has built some partnerships in Eau Claire with the libraries and CVTC and a lot of those partners for the digital equity. And they've also are dealing with a local company that provides the devices. So they're looking at all of those digital equity needs that kind of fall in line with the requirements of this grant.
Yep.
Louisa?
Yes.
She's the vice president right now. I don't know if she's on.
She is not. Yes, because I think that came up in
The meeting.
the meeting on Tuesday. So, yeah. Yep. So,
Dan, I think UW Extension should have input in this. From what I've been seeing the last few years, UW Extension is going to a lot of online stuff. Now, if UW Extension at the local level had access to classrooms, that could change their approach as well.
Yep.
And in the beginning of this whole thing, UW Extension was the driving force, if you remember.
yeah, well,
Out of
UW Extension is still very, very, very involved in the BEAD and grant process as a partner of the Public Service Commission. You
Yeah.
know,
But this could, like I said, classrooms could be a resource for UW Extension.
Yep.
Rather than reinvent the wheel.
all right. That is,
Jim, you got another question?
Well, I maybe I'm looking ahead here, but that's a great idea, UW Extension, and that's a resource. And as you mentioned it, I got thinking about. I've had people call me right now about the Dunn County Fair, and Extension used to be very involved in that, and people are becoming a little frustrated, not in the 4-H or the youth, but in the open class, because they can't get online. They aren't computer savvy, and they don't know what to do. And this is something that I think we ought to explore. I don't know how we do it, but I just throw that out.
all right. Well, that was kind of that from digitally. I want to show you that this grant was available and get a feel for the group if it's something you want me to go, and some ideas about who I should reach out to. So
Yeah, I don't know who you'd reach out to. I think it'd be something we could look into anyway. I don't know how much time it's gonna take up, but
I would have to have it done before we met again.
July 3rd, yeah, it's gonna be
So,
real quick here.
Yep.
It's up to the,
Dan, do you have a contact for the Menominee Tech Building, CBTC building?
Yep.
Dan Lytle, right?
Yep.
Okay. So
Yep. I know who to contact there. Yep. And yeah, I would just have to, and then we'll talk to United Way and see where they are, and can always reach out to the libraries as well.
yeah.
so Bob,
And
you got anything?
as far
Comments?
as far as dual enrollment, I hope everybody's aware that there's a $1.5 million project going on with the Menominee CBTC building right as we talk. And there's dual enrollment with Menominee High School in certain classifications. And so here, the pieces are starting to come together, but the physical structures in the classroom is key. So I just hope that the tech college steps up to the plate, because like I say, I hate to see classrooms sitting empty. And like I said, the silos need to go away.
Thank you,
So
Jerry,
that's
but we're
my-
kind of getting off the subject a little bit here. Working with CBTC, UW, Extension, all those are good points, but we need to make a direction for Dan, if we could, I mean, as a committee. What's your thoughts?
A good start is Dan talking to Dan Lytle.
Okay, anybody else?
Well, I will reach out and see what I can do, see if I can pull something together in
I guess you're gonna have to run
in-
with it if you do,
in
yeah.
13 days.
Yeah.
Don't hold me to getting it done, but I will reach out, and if there's an easy path to kind of pull it off quickly, I'll see if I can do it.
Yeah, and if you need to call a meeting, we can do that, it's, if you need approval, I guess, so.
Yep. All right.
Any further discussion? Hey. Number 6, scheduling.
Oh, I do. I just one more thing. Again, with the grant, just remember that it targets low income or underconnected communities and populations. That's the focus of where those devices would go to.
Yep, thank you.
Yep.
What is the device?
Sorry, a computer, yeah.
They just call it that.
Because it could be a phone or an iPad or
And anything that they would use to
Yep.
get connected.
Scheduling a meeting wrap up, just bringing things from, I probably could have brought this up on, meeting minute from last month. Larry had brought something up. He wanted to know, he's not here, so I really didn't bring it up about the libraries being connected. Do you know, did you check into that, Dan? You said you're gonna look into that. I don't know if you responded to him or to anybody here.
So the libraries, the libraries in Dunn County are all connected. They are identified as community anchor institutes. And Colfax, I know, is identified as being underserved. The rest of them are served.
Okay.
So,
I know that was Larry's
yep.
question, see if they were all connected, so.
Yep.
What about the two communities that we talked about, the one in Elk Mound and the one that Larry was talking about? I can't remember where that one was.
Oh, it was, fall, no, spring.
You said Fall Creek.
Yeah, it's not
Fall Creek.
Not Fall Creek.
Not Fall Creek.
Sand Creek.
There
There
you
we
go.
go. Yeah, knew it was a creek. So, yeah, so they're in what is a strong mosaic, area.
So they're okay too. All right, just wanted to clear that up for Larry if he's gonna watch this, so. Or he'll probably bring it up again.
Yep.
Scheduling. Yes,
This is kind of a follow-up. Mosaic has a meeting scheduled for tonight at the Grant Town Hall to talk to potential customers. So that project is moving forward very quickly. But they plan to meet with potential customers and answer questions and sign people up for broadband service.
no, nice.
Thank you. That's good to know now. I got thinking about it. Once in a while, maybe we should hear from Mosaic or 24/7 or some of these major Mosaic is a big, obviously, provider in Dunn County, and 24/7 and Next Gen. I don't know who the other big ones are. There are 9 of them, I guess.
Yeah, Bloomer Broadband.
Bloomer Broadband, right?
You have, NTech, which is Duran.
Yeah.
And then you have Charter and, TDS and, trying to think, there's another one, over on the west side.
So if Mosaic is meeting, you said at Colfax tonight? Grant Town Hall, and they're meeting, what are they're called the meeting
Yeah.
about the need, those underserved?
Yeah, they won the grant. They got the grant for finishing Grant Township. And so now they're meeting with the potential customers in the town of Grant, because they're starting construction and starting to make those connections.
But you have a question on scheduling? I mean, is that what that's all about, whether we have to meet every month or the?
We do not need to meet every month. I mean, I would imagine, so I mean, obviously, whatever I discover with the digital navigators would be something that we could talk about. But I would say for the most part, I think we're probably in a little bit of a lull until we get volume 2 approved. Now in that lull, I think because the BEAD stuff is really about access and not necessarily this whole digital navigator and, how do we work on the adoption and education component of that. So, yeah, we don't have to meet in July, but,
Yeah.
and I would tell you that I'm not going to be here on the 18th of July.
Okay.
So,
So You got 30 days, right, before this B2 thing is settled, or is that what I'm,
There's no timeline.
no
on-
time on that
Yeah.
one?
So, I don't know if we need to set that, but I think maybe we could not schedule something and
In
when,
July?
when something in July and when something comes, when we start to see something happening, I can reach out to you and we
Okay.
can, schedule a time if that's.
That's all right with the committee?
Everyone.
So we'll wait to hear from Dan to have our next meeting, and you guys all get an email. Any other questions? Discussions? No? Meeting adjourned?
Well, I
right, thank
have
you.
one thing.
Okay,
I know broadband, Bloomer Broadband, they missed some spots over here by me in Colfax. Have they made any progress as far as a grant to fill in the blank?
Yeah, my understanding is the blanks from Bloomer Broadband are that area that I was referring to over by Whitetail.
Yes.
They did apply for a, what is it called? Rural connectivity, is that something through
Is it the
Is
reconnect?
that the,
the Reconnect? They applied for the Reconnect grant. I don't know the timeline on that. That's through a different agency, right? Mark, or is that through you guys? It's
Yep, that's from
USDA.
the federal USDA.
So, I haven't heard from that. I can follow up on that, but I know Bloomer Broadband is trying their hardest to try and find a way to cover that area. It's just like all of these things. It's not something that's economically feasible for them to do without some sort of assistance.
well, their fiber goes down to Whitetail on Highway 40. Somehow they got to get across to County M heading south. I know we're 24/7 on County M start. So,
Like I say, they have a plan. They've applied 3 or 4 times for it. Just can't quite get it through the finish line.
do you know if we have a contact with that? Or
I do have
does
contact.
does the PSC have a contact for that?
I'm sure
For
they do.
Bloomer? Yeah,
For the US federal grant?
yes, we have contacts with them, yeah.
Okay.
Well, we did officially adjourn, right?
yeah, we adjourned.
All right. So.
All right, thanks, everybody. Good work.
Thanks, everybody.